Hey everybody. Oh, I did turn the mic on. Nice. I forgot for a moment whether I had. Hi, I'm Lizfaerie.
Hi guys.
Anyway, we have not been able to go live for a couple weeks. Not sure if you guys saw our community tab post.
Yeah, right.
But
that's right.
The day that we were supposed to go live last week, there randomly was some people might have heard about this, but there was a bunch of like blackouts in Northern California, which is where we live, and that happened on the day that we were supposed to stream, so we were not able to stream last week, even though we had fully intended to.
Hey, it's Demonly Angelic.
Demonly is here for the stream. Nice. Good to see you in the chat, Demonly. I feel a little bit tired this week because I have been
working furiously.
Kind of working furiously, yes, on a lot of things. Mostly just I want to get some things done for the Halloween season. So forgive me if I seem a little bit out of it. I do need more coffee in my life right now.
Yeah, we're gonna make a run right after.
Oh my God, Latoya's here. What's up?
Oh, hey, Latoya.
What am I doing? Okay. Wait. Snorlax. You put it. What the heck? What's happening?
The world's
I don't even know what
apart.
that was. Oh my God! It was your controller.
Oh no! Everything's out of control.
We've lost control. Okay. So this is the first thing. You probably can't actually see quite what's going on the camera. Maybe if you shift it around, you'll see the metallic thing.
Oh, but he's wearing a cape now. It's great.
I know, right? Straight up, this has just become like some sort of weird, like Snorlax Spider-Man mashup. But no, I'm essentially using Snorlax as a tailor's ham right now.
There you go.
Because I'm trying to block this spider web so that it stops like pulling itself in and not being in the right shape.
You can kind of see the sheen on it with the lighting.
Oh no, you were sick. That's unfortunate. I was sick too for a while. You know this already. And I am feeling a lot better. Right. So I'm glad that we're
both all recovered.
Yeah, in recovery right now.
Back working.
So what on earth am I about to say? So I'm just trying to get this spider web in the right shape. I'm trying to, and this thing that looks like a cape is actually just a random T-shirt that I'm trying to sew this spider web onto.
Right, yeah, because it's gonna be like a shoulder embellishment.
Yeah, it's basically like a kind of like not exactly a functioning sleeve type of situation.
Right.
Like a little cap sleeve, I guess. But not really a terribly functional. It's purely aesthetic because it's just obviously just made of thread. You can like barely see it. You can kind of see it here. Could you switch the camera for me, please? So here's a close-up view of that. It's essentially Snorlax's stomach that we're looking at really closely right now. But here he is. But oh hey, it's D.
Hey,
what's up, D?
Hey, D.
Nice to see you in chat as well. So yeah, that will hopefully be something that I can finish. It's just
that'll be really cute to see once it comes out.
It's so hard to work with thread. It's just so annoying that I just have not been able to get myself to do the other spider web for the other sleeve. It's just so hard to.
If you're dealing with that, it's hard to put yourself in the mood of like.
Yeah, exactly. It's just switch back, would you?
Oh yes.
Yeah, sorry.
No,
usually I'm driving the stream, but I literally just can't reach with where we have everything.
We have the mouse in a faraway spot right now, and I'm the only one with long enough arms.
Yeah, so unfortunately I can't reach unless I think last time I was kind of like going over, and that was just it wasn't working for me. I don't want to do that again. So that's the first thing. Hopefully it'll like come out nice. I'm a little concerned with the washability of this garment if I do use thread to make the spider web.
Totally.
I guess it might just be a hand wash only situation, but I'm kind of okay with that. I do have a couple of things that are hand wash only, so. Thank you so much, D, for being glad that I'm feeling better. I am also glad of this because I feel like I just wasn't able to get stuff done for a while. I'm brandishing this unicorn. put this Snorlax down.
I know, right?
Switch over.
Unicorn is a deadly weapon. You gotta be careful.
Doesn't have the horn yet, so it's not actually deadly.
Okay.
I made these unicorns a while back. I shouldn't say these because I'm only holding one. I made the horses a while back. The other horse is off somewhere.
It's prancing.
But this unicorn has been a work in progress for a while because I've just been kind of making the horn over and over again in different ways and not being satisfied with it.
Right.
And doing it again, and this process has repeated.
That's the nature
times.
of prototyping and engineering patterns.
And I really didn't want to commit to doing a horn that I wasn't happy with this unicorn because I really didn't want to have to remake the whole thing because I didn't like the horn enough.
Right. No, the freaking.
Yeah. I know I was pretty bad after the last stream, but we did have to. The show must go on, I guess. But yeah, I'm feeling a lot. I'm feeling a lot better. I am a little bit glad in a way that we weren't able to stream last week because I was still kind of getting over being sick. But I really wanted to stream.
Yeah, we were ready.
We were definitely going to stream if there had not been
very little time to prepare.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. But let's not talk about that now. Because I think that would take too long. Anyways. Hand me the other lady. So these are the people from the thumbnail. This unicorn and this lady who will eventually also be a unicorn. The tail is in progress on this one. So you can kind of see what the tail looks like before I finish it.
Right. Before it gets straightened.
And then once it is finished and completely straightened and looks more like actual horsehair. This kind of has like a 90s crimped look to it going on. And so I finally got a design for the horn for these two that I am satisfied with, I guess. And so that I've been working on for the past few days, trying to get the tutorial finished.
Right.
And it's pretty much finished. I'm on the last stage of it right now. And hopefully I will be able to get that out maybe next week if I'm lucky. There should be another video coming out later this week. I was thinking Friday, but it's not a new thing. It's just an update on my skull mask pattern tutorial thing. So maybe I'll talk more about that next week when we stream because I'll actually have the video to link.
Right.
But yeah, so hopefully the unicorn horn will finally be done next week. The thing that's going to take the longest is the next thing that I will talk about after I show you guys these guys a little bit closer on our other camera. Because I just want to show you once again that gradient. I am in love with it. I wish the camera showed this purple accurately. It does not. It always shows it. You can kind of see towards the tips of it. That's kind of more what color it is. But for some reason, right here, it's always blue. It's like navy or something.
I know, that's
but
so funny.
If I hold it like this and there's like a little bit of light barely hitting the tips, you can kind of see that it's a little bit purple, but I'm not. Yeah. It
is what it is.
Yeah.
This camera just doesn't want to pick it up.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's just never going to be purple enough. And also, this shade is like, I don't know. I feel like it's just everything is just bluer than it is in real life, which is unfortunate. But I just love the way that the gradient comes out on this technique. I also have a tutorial for this. If you haven't seen that, I have the rainbow unicorn mane and tail tutorial that I made in June, because it was for Pride Month. So yeah.
Oh, Dee said she finally posted her first video.
Oh, nice. I should check that out. Yeah. I will check that out for sure. Thank you for telling me about that, Dee, and congratulations. Awesome. So yeah, guys, check out Dee's channel, because Dee has been in the chat for I don't know, as long as we've been doing streams, probably pretty close. So hopefully this unicorn will actually finally be finished soon. But let me show you the other doll, because the colors of the tail I'm really excited about. I kind of put this on hold. Yeah, a little bit more on the
pastel spectrum.
Yeah, and I'm like, I have a couple of things going that I will show you later that have this color scheme more.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a color scheme that I really like. It's more like a pastel watercolor type of look, which I'm a big fan of. So I'm excited to see how this color scheme brushes out and straightens compared to how this color scheme works. I mean, obviously it's going to be very different because this is just straight a straight color gradient, whereas this is more individual like color gradients on each like thread practically. Like this is like, for instance, this hair is like a color gradient from blue to pink to yellow,
right?
Instead of there being like individual strands forming the gradient, I guess. You know what I mean? So I'm excited to see what that does differently. And her wig is not made yet, and I wanted to show you guys the way that I've been making wig caps lately is a little different than it was in the past. Before, I was essentially making a tiny little beanie for the doll to wear that I was stitching the hairs directly onto, and that works well, but it does add a lot of bulk to the doll's head. So what I started doing was making this little elastic net cap instead. And because it's got the netting, it's a lot more, or it's a lot less bulky.
Yeah, it doesn't add all that extra size.
Yeah, so I think that that's going to work really well for this doll. Excuse me. But yeah, I have used this technique a couple of times now. I think I used it... I'm using it on my Garnet doll, but I'm still in the progress of that doll I've been working on literally for about a year. Probably more than that now. But so I think I used it on the wig that I'm working on currently for the Garnet. And I also used that on the Bear Girl that I was working on. I made her 2 wigs. Hopefully that video will be coming out eventually soon. I've just got to go through all that footage and figure out exactly how to turn it into a video that is watchable. It's not exactly going to be a tutorial per se. It's just going to be like showing roughly what I did to make the doll, kind of, but not really in a way that I guess is exactly like a detailed tutorial of everything that I did. But anyway, eventually I will maybe make a tutorial for these net elastic wig caps because I think it's a little bit better than what I was doing before. And I did have an old wig cap tutorial, and I've been meaning to revisit my wig series anyway, so that's another thing that maybe I'll do in a little while. Okay, so let me show you guys these unicorn horns. These I'll just do on this camera because they're kind of too small to really show you guys.
Yeah, totally.
So let me show you guys the slow process of this coming together. I started out doing a thing where I was building these spirals by working stitches like leaving loops and stitches out of the work to try to form like a little ridged spiral, but that didn't really work very well. It wasn't enough, so I ended up going with this other technique, and here's like a very disarticulated, unfinished version of this technique. So this is just a little corkscrew coil that I've made. This was what I started out with when I was when I started working this new technique, and there's just a few steps that I do to this to turn this into an actual unicorn horn, and I have a couple more here that are in different phases. Let me show you this tiny one too, because I have a smaller size, obviously, for those dolls that I just showed you that I am in the process of working on. So here's the weird, twisty, disarticulated one, and here is one that is almost finished. You can see the tails are still sticking out here, and there's the wire that is keeping its structure and shape. This one still needs to be coiled around the tip and then sewn in place around the wire. So
that's cool though.
So here's the finished one, and I say finished lightly because there's still other stuff that I can do.
Right. But nothing's ever really completely finished.
Well, I mean, it can be finished. I'll go into more of that in a minute. But so this version is all fully sewn together and fully solid. You can see it's got a lot more structure going on because there's that wire on the inside. But now it's sewn in. You can see this one is not sewn in, and this one is. All the stitches are covering up a lot of that one. So this is just the crocheted texture version of this, which I might end up leaving alone and just going with this being the finished horn. But I might, if I have time. I don't think I will have time, though, to be honest. I have so many things that I'm working on right now.
One more thing to juggle.
But if I did have time, I would do this with it. This is also unfinished, so this is the smaller version that I'm working on. It looks real messy right now because I've been adding layers and sanding. I've been adding layers of glue and sanding and adding layers of glue to essentially harden it and kind of give it more of a plastic texture so that it looks more like realistic, I guess. So this one is going to be one of the doll horns, and eventually once it's sanded and fully painted, you can kind of see the paint that I'm going to, if it will focus, you can kind of see the paint that I'm going to use a little bit in the cracks there. It's going to be a metallic silver. It's kind of like dry brushed into the cracks right now, and there's a layer of Mod Podge over it. So that's kind of trying to fill in some of those little cracks in the stitches and the cloth. And as I build up layers of the acrylic and the Mod Podge and sand it and build it up and sand it and build it up and sand it, it just develops more of a plastic-like texture.
Yeah.
That looks, oh, there we go.
Oh, there
that
it
looks
is.
a lot more realistic.
It's all of a sudden it's crisp.
But yeah, you can see that it's a more spiral shape. And I'm a lot more happy with the ridge shape that this one had, where the other one, it kind of just had like a little skinny line going up it. It was not satisfying, so I did have to scrap that. It wasn't that it was bad, it just took a lot more work to shape it and sand it in the end. Because I was able to kind of get it to look like this, but just the shape took a lot more work to get there. Where this, I didn't really have to do much except like I deepened the ridge just a little bit, and then I have just been layering the Mod Podge on to try to get that all those cracks filled in a little bit more to give it a little bit more of a smooth texture. But since it is like, I guess, a horn, it's supposed to be like bone, it having those little imperfections in the texture don't look bad once it's been sealed and painted. So it does still have that look. So this is a particularly good thing to use that technique for, because it is more of a bone.
Right. Yeah, no, especially for horns. And I think because you have the wiring, you could probably do a lot of styles of horn.
Freaking bring that up. Because during that gluing phase, I was thinking, I haven't done it yet, but during that gluing phase, you could just like, just do something like that,
looks freaking super
and then
cool.
just set it with the glue, and then you would just have.
It'd be also cute to like set those on a headband or something.
Yeah, no, I know, and the fact that it is cloth, I should have thought this through. The fact that it's cloth, before you do the sealing part, you can kind of protect some. Like I want to do that with this one because I didn't think of it, but I'm gonna sew a little bit of yarn back into it so that there's some tails sticking out, and then I might cover that up so that it's protected from the glue, and then once I do that, there'll actually be a string coming off it that I can just use to sew down to a piece, instead of it having to be like glued down like what you would do with something that's more of a plastic piece, which is probably what I'm going to end up having to do if I use this. Or I guess the other thing that I could do is like try to use some kind of hardware to attach it, but I don't know if I should.
Yeah, no, I think your idea of leaving tails loose is a good idea.
I'm not sure if I can do that with this one though, because I didn't do it already.
Well, no, that's a good
Although
point.
I might be able to, because the glue is so flexible. If I do it before I go any further, I might be able to just stab a hole through it with a needle or something and try to get just trying to force a little bit of cloth in there so that I can actually sew this down and not have to glue
put
it.
like a snap on it, and then you can
But I would still have to sew that, because I don't think I would have to glue the snap, or with epoxy, I guess maybe. I don't want to.
That was just a silly idea.
I just don't like using glue on my dolls, even though that's silly because I've already used glue on the horn. The horn is already glue. And I mean, I'm not going to take this off.
That's a slightly different technique. It's not exactly what people think of when they think like, oh, like I use glue to make my doll.
But yeah, like once that's painted and sealed and sanded, I guess it'll be set into the hair somewhere. And because this has this mesh texture, theoretically, I can just
easily just
stick it
in
right in there. Yeah, exactly. And then also this other guy, same situation with the horn. Hopefully it'll look a lot nicer once it's actually sanded and sealed. Okay.
Yeah, no, those are looking really nice though.
Yeah, I was actually pleasantly surprised with how the small version of it came out, because I wasn't sure if I could do this in any size. Because the small version is literally just like the tip of the big version.
Totally.
See? And I was just concerned that it wouldn't look good on that scale. But I think it looks okay.
No, totally. It would still look good even if it was a little bit shorter.
Honestly, I think maybe the way to go to make this look a little bit nicer on a small scale is to maybe go with using a shorter or a thinner thread. Like use crochet thread instead of using Aran weight worsted weight yarn, like what this yarn is.
Mm-hmm.
Or the other thing that you can do is you can just take an Aran weight yarn and pull it apart so that you have two little strands like that, and then use one of these instead. That's a little thing you can do to have crochet thread if you don't have any and you need it.
Right.
And that's actually what I prefer to do, honestly, because you can't really find crochet thread in every color.
Right.
And also the texture of this yarn is so different than what you can find crochet thread. It's hard to find crochet thread that has this similar texture, you know? So it does work better to kind of just pull it apart. And the color options that you have are it's just no comparison. Not that this is really a good example, because this is just white. Okay, let's remove all of these horns from the floor.
Toya says it looks great.
Thanks, Toya. I'm excited. I'm ready for this to be finished. Because the tutorial is very, very close to done. As I showed you this guy just now, it's really, really close to being done, and this is what I'm using in the tutorial. So once this is done, the tutorial will be filmed, and then I can edit, and then it'll be finished. And then I just have to do the rest of the other tutorials. And then the other ones. Well, anyway,
let's not think about that now.
So, another thing, let's do the wig, I guess, since we're talking about. And I guess let me grab this, because this goes with the wig. So, switch to our other camera, because I don't think I can even show this. I don't think I can even show this on the smaller camera.
I know,
right?
It's
too bulgy. So here it is so far.
It's a wash of texture.
Let me just try to show you guys this color in a way that the camera will actually try to look at it instead of trying to look at Jovi's shirt. Sorry.
We'll get Snorlax to cover me.
So, as I was saying earlier, some 90s crimping texture going on right now. That's like what I have going on with that unicorn tail. But this is basically what the yarn looks like in between turning it from yarn into hair wefts. So you can see a bunch of it is not done on this side, for instance. There's a whole bunch. This is all the bangs pretty much I have. Oh, wait, no. I didn't grab the right thing. Where is it? There it is.
Yeah,
this is all the this is all the bangs here. And I've pretty much left that completely until last. I've almost finished doing this whole side of pulling it apart, but oh my gosh, there's a lot of hair here. Like, there's so much, and this is just the first step. Like,
how many hours do you think you've spent?
This is like literally the size of like 10 to 15 doll wigs all in one go, and the hair is like triple or double. It's double on the bangs and triple the length of what I would do normally for a doll hair. Because doll hair is obviously a lot shorter than real person hair.
No. You don't have a doll-sized head. So.
Yes. And I really didn't want it to just all be super, super short. Which, I mean, I could have done that. It would have taken less time. Maybe I should have done that. But I just really wanted this to be longer. So I did this to myself. And I did it to myself. So, you know, I should be okay with it. But
gotta reap the seeds you sow.
But I really wanted this wig to be a thing that existed. So it's
gonna happen.
Yeah, it's gonna happen. So that tutorial hopefully will be maybe sometime next week. Hopefully. Unless I'm like trapped in trying to unravel all of these yarn pieces for all of eternity.
You've made a lot of progress.
So it's like pretty much the exact same technique as my wigs that I make for dolls, but or my first iteration of wigs, which is another reason why I kind of want to redo my wig series, because the way that I'm doing wigs now is kind of completely different. And the Toya says that the wig is so dense and thick.
It is dense and thick.
And yes, it is. That is the thing about yarn wigs, is they tend to be really, really thick and dense. You kind of have to be careful not to go overboard, to be honest, with like how thick and voluminous and dense the hair is, which is one of the reasons why they work so well for really thick hair textures. Like yarn just has that texture. It's like kind of like it's a lot easier to get that type of texture to stay in yarn. But
oops, sorry.
What even was that? That was the
sewing machine. I think I just lowered the arm.
Oh.
It put its foot down.
The process of straightening the hair, which I'm going to do to this wig a little bit, it's not, I'm getting ahead of myself. Anyway, the process of straightening this hair will thin it out a little bit, but because it's such a long wig, there's not much I can really do to straighten it as much. Right. Because if I were to brush out the hair as much as I would do with a shorter doll-sized wig, it would actually be too much on the yarn, and it would potentially destroy the hair, and it would start to break. It would just get short, yeah. So it wouldn't survive the process. So basically, I can only brush out the ends of the hair, and I have to leave like the top 4 inches or so as just yarn texture, which doesn't straighten as easily, but because it's just at the top, it won't be as noticeable. And I think that the sheen and the texture of the straightened, brushed out part will just kind of take the attention away from the roots a little bit to a certain extent, and it will be shined up a little bit by the process of the straightening, because I am going to straighten it. It just won't look like hair texture as much, right. But it will be like the process of pulling the straightener like across
should pull a little bit of the crimp out of it, right?
It definitely pulls a little bit of the crimp out, but it also like smooths it out and makes it real shiny, which I think will help with making it have the illusion of being more like hair. So yeah, so that's that wig. I don't want to put it on, as much as that's probably like the expectation when you show a wig. It's in progress though. It doesn't look nice. I will literally look like Lisa Frank Johnny Ramone, and that's not what we want.
Alright, it's pastel mop on head.
Right now, I mean, I haven't done any like styling on it, obviously. It's not even made. And the layering at the bangs kind of give it like a bit of a hair metal type of a look, which is not necessarily what I want. Once it's brushed and straightened, it will not look as much.
It's gonna lean away from the 80s mullets eventually.
And I will trim. Wants to do that to themselves? I am going to trim the front bangs a little bit so that they're not all super layered from each other. The reason why they're so long right now at the bottom layer is because it's just easier to kind of cut everything to the same length and trim it later. So all of these are way too long. If I were to put this on, you would see this would go all the way down to my nose. Yeah. It would be completely blocking my... You can even see right now, if I put it next to my head, it goes all the way down it obscures my face completely.
So as comical as it would be,
I am not going to put it on. I'm sorry. It would look very silly, and there's no need for that. We don't need that. But anyway, so the horn, in theory, will be in this wig. In theory. We can only hope. What I would really like, I don't know if I'll be able to pull it off, but I would really like for this horn to be removable. And I am also obviously going to make some ears to go with it. And ideally removable. but that would take a little bit of brain power, and I'm not sure if I'm capable of that right now because I'm so tired.
If you want to crunch the wheels that hard.
And there's so many things that are still left to do.
Serious.
So, is that the last whip? That's our last whip, right? No. Skeleton Man.
I was wondering if Skelly Man was going to make it in.
Okay, this is the last thing. It doesn't have anything to do with the unicorn theme, but neither did Snorlax, so that's fine.
But he's so cool.
So here's the last thing.
He's got some rainbow pins in him. Does that count? No, I guess unicorns aren't rainbow.
Not necessarily. So here's the Skeleton Man. I showed you guys some skeleton fellows.
I love his proportions.
I know. Let's get into that. So I showed you guys some skeleton fellows a couple weeks ago when we last streamed, and I was originally going to base this guy on that same pattern, and it wouldn't have been what I wanted it to look like.
Right.
So I ended up going with a completely different design. And in a way, it's kind of easier the way that I've done it. It's kind of almost more beginner friendly. So I'm almost thinking of maybe making another pattern tutorial showing the way that maybe not this time, obviously, because this is the prototype experiment type of thing with this type of design. But I'm almost thinking of maybe doing like a more basic beginner friendly skeleton fellow. And the one that I made the first time has a lot more complex like building sort of situations. It's a lot more like built off of things like increasing and decreasing in different ways. There's a lot of color changes, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Where this one is a lot more basic, where I'm just single crocheting to build up the skeleton on scaffolding. Essentially, I've built this skeleton out of wire, and I'm just kind of crocheting over it. So it's not really like, there's not much thinking about shaping that goes into it as much as you would with other amigurumi. It's kind of just like cover up the scaffolding, you know what I mean? That's all that it really is. I mean, the skull, obviously, that was more like a traditional amigurumi, which, I mean, it does have that look. This is kind of, I'm not sure if it's exactly the same, but it, I think, is pretty close to what I did for one of my skull tutorials that I did a while back, except this one is like made to not have the lower jaw. It's just the teeth. And I made an inside layer to kind of give it a hollowed out look.
Yeah, no,
and I will show you guys that like closer up in a moment. So this is another commission piece. If you guys were following the whole bear situation, which we'll go into eventually in a video, if you guys missed that that series of WIP Wednesdays, because I really want to show you guys the actual finished piece for that. So this is another commission piece. So this would probably be the same story where every once in a while on WIP Wednesday you guys can have a look at the progress that I've gotten, and then once I finally finish it, I will make a video showing you guys a little bit of the process of actually building it and the reveal of the doll when it is in its finished state. So let's have a look at the closer up of this doll. Let's look at this skull first. I have not sewn its skull down to the inside yet. So there's all these pins in it right now holding it together. I made this under layer piece to kind of fill the underside of the head so that it looks more hollowed out, but so that you can't see any of the armature inside of the head, because I did actually give it a little bit of armature to support the brows and the cheekbones, and so that it would have this little hollowed out space here.
Yeah, that looks really cool.
In the
just
eyes,
the fact that you can do
and
that. And
here in the nose as well. But it does look a lot nicer, I think, than the skulls that I've made in the past, because those I just used color changes to do the eyes and the nose and stuff. So I think it'll look a lot more interesting now that I'm able to like hollow out the look of the eyes. And, like, I think you can even kind of. I still need to sew this top little spot to this thing so that it's all one piece. But it's kind of like, I don't know. It's just a cool experiment that I'm trying.
Yeah, no, that looks great.
And then here is the ribcage armature that I've still not covered up yet. I think it has like some nice stretch to it. It's just funny because it's kind of going a little overboard because all of this is going to be covered when the doll is finished.
But it'll have good structure.
Also, this is slightly to weigh its body down a little bit, to be honest, because, geez, that's a big head. I've been able to get it to stand up, so I'm confident that it won't be too top-heavy, because I am going to hopefully be able to weigh it down in the pelvis once I give it its little pants. I might also try to put a little bit of weight in the actual pelvic bone itself. Not sure. I mean, I did already do that a little bit by twisting the wire so heavily there.
Right.
But yeah, you can see that I kind of just crocheted directly onto the wire. And you can still see a bunch of the wire showing through. I'm just gonna stitch over that to cover it up, essentially. Because my main concern with this piece is that I don't want it to be too bulky. I want it to be really thin because there's going to be that clothing.
Right.
And it's going to be such a... It's supposed to look like a skeleton.
Yeah, he's a skeleton. He should be
for them
thin.
to be wearing clothing on top of them having the bone structure, like, it needs to be real thin.
Right.
Like, there's not really a way that I can make it work unless it's really thin. And that was the main problem with my other design, is that it was just way too bulky.
Right.
It was kind of designed to just, that's just what the skeleton looks like. But this design I am happy with. If you guys have seen randomly my Olaf tutorial, the Olaf snowman
going way back.
Yeah, that is kind of a way back one. But it's kind of a similar technique to what I did to build Olaf's arms. I didn't do 2 layers of crochet, which is what I did for... And honestly, that probably would have worked. But again, I didn't want to add bulk. But what I did for Olaf was I started at the base of the arm. And it was just the arm sticks and also the hair sticks. Where I started at the base of the arm and I crocheted out to the tip. There's like a little loop here that I crocheted into, and then I crocheted back down to the base, and then I like stitched around it to kind of pull it all together.
Nice.
So that's kind of what I did here, except I only have put 1 layer of the crochet, and then I got this gigantically long tail that I'm going to hopefully be able to have enough to just cover up the rest of that wire and sink it into the body so that it's not visible, and so that it's a little bit less likely to, like, I don't know, catch on anything or break or just not look nice. And I am excited for the ribcage. This I am having a little bit of thoughts about, because I did do the arms already in that other way. I almost think that might be too bulky for the ribcage. So I'm almost thinking I might end up having to embroider the ribcage on instead of
using
crocheting.
Crocheting.
Which I would be essentially doing the exact same thing that I'm doing here, except with 1 thread on a needle instead of crocheting with, like, loops.
Right.
Because the loops add a lot of bulk. It's as if I'm working with 2 threads at once, because there's both sides of the loop. So if I just use 1 thread on a needle, in theory, it should be half as thick as what that is. And I have done stuff like that before to, like, add, like, small pieces of detail to a doll. Like, I think I've done that before to add, like, little tiny fingers onto a doll before.
Right.
Which, that's something I'm not sure if I'll do on this doll. Maybe... It would be nice for them to have the ability to hold things, but I don't know if it's something that'll be possible on this scale.
That would be cool if you were able to pull that off.
I might be able to do it, but I just have to figure out how I can do it. But right now, I should just focus on trying to get the skeleton completely done, and then worry about whether I can get the costume on it without it being too insanely bulky. And if I really, worst case scenario, cannot get the costume on it without it being too bulky, I might just have to stitch a bunch of the costume just over the crochet permanently. Because, I mean, it's a bit of a question of whether it will be removable or not because of how thin the limbs are and how tight fitted it has to be. I'm not sure how removable I can make the clothes, which is something that really bothers me because I like everything to be removable. But, you know, what can I do? Unless I can find the stretchiest fabric in the world. But yeah, no, that's, I mean, you know, it's a long shot.
That's cool. Dee said she just got gifted a bunch of crafting supplies.
Oh, nice.
That includes a bunch of wire, so they'll be able to try out a bunch of these skeleton techniques.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I really, really love the way that the skeleton technique works, just with how much structure and posability it adds to the doll. It's like, it's so worth it. I think it just adds a lot to the doll. And it's really good for like taking pictures of the dolls and stuff like that too. So I haven't done the pelvic bone either yet. We'll see how any of this works. Okay, so now that's all that.
I think that's it.
That is everything.
The last one.
Yeah. So before we go, I just wanted to briefly mention that at some point in the near future, I don't really know exactly when this is going to happen, but I'm going to be taking a bit of an extended trip back to my hometown in LA.
Yeah.
To help my mom move. So I am going to try really, really hard to make a bunch of stuff now.
Yeah.
So that I can be posting
Part
stuff.
of why Liz has been working so furiously as of late.
Well, I mean, I did want to get a bunch of Halloween stuff out, which I need to do now too.
Right, totally.
But I also want to do all of this other stuff now so that I can
winter too.
Yeah, so that I can have stuff
Christmas
too.
came early, but not in the way you'd thought.
But yeah, so I need to get on doing that stuff. So, and not all of it is going to be crochet tutorials because, I mean, that would be a lot of work.
Right. Well, and then you've been wanting to do more just
and
like
I have been wanting
stuff
to do like
too.
more sewing tutorials and just like thrifting videos because that's just something that I do like doing and I would love to have.
Or if you guys have any type of, you know, content that you think that you'd like to see, you know, go ahead and leave it in chat or in the comments. And
like maybe it would even be, I don't know, maybe I can like pre-record some Stardew because like
that would be
we
cool.
do have our Stardew that we're working on.
I know,
I do have my Blueberry Girl that I've been
I'm sure you've been
on.
meaning to visit the Blueberry Girl again.
Yeah, because our Blueberry Girl, she's just so cute and I really need to make her.
Right.
So maybe I'll throw some of that in. We have some thrift haul videos. I have some thrift flip videos that I want to do just from stuff that we found while thrifting. I want to do more sewing stuff. I want to do more embroidery stuff. I mean, like this, for instance. This was like one of my favorite projects that I've ever done, and it was an embroidery project. So, so I would like to do more fairy wings and stuff like that.
Lots of plans ahead.
There's a lot of and then also the other thing that I've been wanting to do is maybe updating some of my old videos with just new audio because I know that my microphone setup back then was not so great. So I would like to just do another recording of a bunch of audio and just kind of, I guess, put those videos back out, but with the better audio track.
Right.
So we can try to do that maybe a couple of times. And also I want to get more into my beginner series that I have been working on. I still need to do a couple of types of stitches on that series and then it'll be pretty much done. And then the other thing that I really want to get your guys' feedback on is I've been wanting for a long time to do an amigurumi drafting and like how to like make your own designs for amigurumi and stuff like that tutorial series, but I'm not really sure what you guys would want to know, I guess. Because I mean, like, I have been making amigurumi for a while and I never use other people's designs. I always make my own patterns and I always make my own designs. And a lot of the time when I'm working on something that's not for a tutorial, I will just make it and not even plan it out at all, really. I'll just kind of like design it on the fly. And this is just something that I've been doing for a while. Well, I mean, like for this for instance.
Right, yeah.
Like there's just little like problem solving things that I've learned to do over time. And I'm not really sure whether you guys would be interested in something like that or like how to go about doing that, or like if you guys have any questions that you would want me to answer about like how like what my design process is and all of that type of stuff,
like how you get certain shapes to form,
right? Like I don't really know what you guys would want me to do in a series like that, so if you have any ideas for something like that, just go ahead and leave that in the comments. And I think that's the only thing that I really
that
was
pretty much it.
So thanks for joining us for this week.
Glad we're able to make it back after that power outage that we had to go through last week.
And it's the rainy season, so hopefully there won't be any more power outages.
I know, right? Yeah, hopefully everything's been going good so far.
Thank you so much, Dee. Yes, I'm going to try to be
your health
not doing too much. I do want to get a lot of stuff done, but I have been allowing myself to sleep. So
at the very least.
As much as I've wanted to stay up all night working on everything, I did let myself sleep. So improvement, character development. Anyway,
you've made it. You've come far.
I know, right? Oh my god. So that's it for us this week. We will be back next week, hopefully, unless there's a power outage. So that's
thanks for joining us for another WIP Wednesday.
Yeah. And I guess I'll do this. I'm taking over.
I'm leaving.
Bye.
Bye. See you guys later.